Welcome to SVGTV News for Wednesday, April 26, 2023. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works Montgomery Daniel said of the 66 projects identified for this year under the ministry's portfolio, work has commenced on some of the projects while they await the start on others, including the National Roads Rehabilitation Project. Minister Daniel was speaking on NBC Radio face-to-face program today.
That is so because, of course, that the designs and estimates are being worked on, and of course, in some cases, they may be awaiting release of funds. So that, of course, the work has commenced. And I want to think that most important to all of the works scheduled for the Ministry of Transport and Works for this year, 2023, is the NRRP program, what we call the National Road Rehabilitation Program. Of course, the last time I had a program of this nature, which was face-to-face at the studio, that of course I gave an update as to what was happening then. Of course, this National Road Rehabilitation Project is a project that is dear to me, and it's dear to the Ministry of Transport and Works. It's a project that is costing the government $120 million for immediate repairs to works. Of course, when this project was identified and was approved at the budgetary process, work would already have commenced with the funding agency. And so I'm sure, Johnny P., you know how things go sometimes.
Meeting deadlines and all that.
Yes. The preparation, the preparatory work to be done and to get things going, of course, do take some time. And I honestly thought that the funding would have been in place by, as I speak, as of today. But my last discussion with the Ministry of Finance is that everything is now before the funding agency, and that at any time now, the funds can be lodged in the account here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Minister Daniel said he has received a preliminary working document on the National Road Rehabilitation Program. On the work to be done, which seeks to repair and rehabilitate some 23.2 miles of roads across St. Vincent and Grenadines. He said the work should have started on April 1st. However, they are waiting the funds from the funding agency to commence the 3-year project, which is expected to end on March 31st, 2026.
Preliminary working document. Of course, I gave a copy to the Honorable Prime Minister. Of course, looked at it as well. And I advised that, of course, we do some reworking of the document. Because initially, there were requests that would have come into BRAXA, to which some designs and so on were done. And one could have said that they were low-hanging fruit and they were ready to go. But of course, on some of these roads, there were further deterioration. And so some of these roads really have to be reworked. And in the meantime, some of the roads became further bad to the extent that one now has to look at different levels of priority. And so within that preliminary document, of course, the work that was identified really was so done with 2 contractors, BRAXA and OECC.
According to Daniel, the preliminary working document indicates that the work to be carried out over the 3-year period will be done in 2 phases by the contractors, the Roads, Buildings and General Services Authority, BRAXA, and the Taiwanese firm Overseas Engineering and Construction Company, OECC.
Phase 1 is work to be starting immediately as we have the funds into the account. Phase 1 will immediately start with both contractors. And then As work proceeds, then you will have the work done on phase 2. That is where you now have to do roads with the designs and the more precise costing and the like. And so you have quite a number of roads that is within this working document. And I may not be able to go through all of them as identified as it is now. But I can tell you, in all of the constituencies in this country of our St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that work has been identified and is scheduled under phase 1 or phase 2 to be done.
Minister Daniel said the unit responsible for carrying out the work on the road rehabilitation project is already up and running. However, the full complement of workers is not yet in place, noting that they have submitted a special warrant of just over $600,000 to the Ministry of Finance to get things going.
This is so because, of course, we have to have the place of a board for the unit to be able to house approximately 27 persons. That is the number of persons that being required to carry out effectively the work of the unit. Presently, there is in place the project coordinator and 2 senior engineers and a quantity surveyor. But there needs to be another 2 engineers, another quantity surveyor, other graduate staff of surveyor, an engineer, a quantitative or quantity surveyor, other supporting engineering staff, of course, because work has to be done in the field. You need the finance and administrative officer, of course. There is also the liaison officer, who I understand has been already on the job as well. You also have civil technicians and other drivers and so on. All of that has been established as the operational staff. So a total of some 27 persons. And we want to get on with the work. There is also some 4 also engineers identified out of Cuba. We want to, we have identified them already. They have been selected. It's just to have, them into St. Vincent, which, as I understand it, within the next 2 weeks or so, they will be here. And so, at present, as I say, the list is really been reworked and finalized.
Minister Daniel said they are hoping to have shovel on the ground by June 1st on the roads identified for work under the Road Rehabilitation Project. Budget 2023 establishes a 3-year, $120 million National Road Rehabilitation Project to be funded by a soft loan from the government of Taiwan. And commenting on the 2 Bailey bridges in North Windward, which persons in the area have been waiting on for months to be open, and even more so with the current rainy conditions. The MP for the area said more time is needed to correct some design flaws on at least one of the bridges.
In that if you are entering the bridge from, and that is the Overland Bridge, from north going south, the angle you're entering is almost at a right angle. And the levels approaching the degree of slope is somewhat high. So that the design flaw needs to be corrected. The Ministry of Finance was having discussion with the contractors. And so the project in itself with the contractors would have been established at a particular price. and that not expecting the design flaw, which has a cost, to be remedied and has to be done, that the funds available for the correction was not immediately available. And so in discussions, that is the Ministry of Finance, with the contractors, though they have basically completed contractually what was required, that the design flaws has to be corrected. And so what has happened is that once works are completed, then there is a certificate of completion to indicate that the work is completed. The facility is handed over to the client, in this case the government. And so in all of this, the certification of completion is not done so that you can virtually say that the works have not been handed over to the government as yet.
Daniel said, having identified the remedial work that is needed, it is his hope that things will get corrected soon to have the bridges open.
No, I really want to have the bridge open because, of course, as was identified on the weekend and until now, we're still having some rains. And the rivers were down on Monday, where some of those smaller vehicles that feared going into the river removed the barriers and traversed on the bridges. Now, of course, as I say, I want to have the bridges operational. But to the extent that the completion of certification is not done, then any damage to the bridge, of course, is going to further cost. It's going to be further cost to the government.
Yes.
And one has to be careful with that. Now, I can say to you that immediately the project manager of the National Road Rehabilitation Project has been involved in this, where the design and the costings would have been worked on. And as the funds are available, immediately the repair works will be done. And I am hopeful, I'm really hopeful that all of these works will be complete by the end of June, so that I'm looking at very early July to have officially those bridges open to the general public. I want to really see the safety and comfort.
And Minister Daniel said BRAXA is already on the ground doing assessment work so that as soon as school go on the summer vacation, they can commence repair work. In other news now, we hear that at least 14 species of freshwater fish and 13 species of crustaceans were found in rivers across St. Vincent. This is according to retired biology teacher and principal John Renton, who officially wraps up the first phase of a study on freshwater species at River 14 on Monday, April 24th. The study commenced in September last year after signing an agreement with the SVG Environmental Fund, which is funding the project. In February this year, the fieldwork began with a survey on freshwater fish and crustaceans at 14 different rivers. The survey was supported by the Forestry Division and the National Parks, Rivers and Beaches Authority.
We have made 10 sampling trips. We've looked at 14 rivers and 33 sample stations within those rivers. We like to look at the river mouth, a middle section and a higher section of all the rivers. We have found so far in this part of the survey 14 species of fish. Additionally, we know about 5 more. Most of those are marine species that sometimes come into the river mouth. The macaque, and we met many today, are the most frequently occurring fish in the survey, followed by the mountain mullet. The endangered American eel was only found in one location, however, and one fish that I found in previous studies I have not found again is the McPhee or fat sleeper. So in later parts of the survey we'll be looking further to see if we could revisit some of those places where it was before and see if that fish is still found in St. Vincent. The greatest biodiversity of fish has been found in the brackish pool, which is just next to the ocean and the river mouth. This is a special area and should be considered for greater conservation. In addition to fish, we've been looking at decapod crustaceans as well. Those would be crayfish and crabs. And we found 13 species of those. 5 crayfish in the family we call bookies or atia crayfish. 5 in the family most people call them gundiman or macrobrachium family, and 3 crabs, of which the river crab was the most common.
Renton said one of the most interesting things found in the survey was the breeding population of the opossum pipefish, which is related to the seahorse.
In this species, the male broods the eggs, and we actually found males with brood pouches with eggs inside it. I don't know if this has been recorded anywhere before, but it was a very interesting finding. The area where you find those fish is very limited. They are confined to vegetation that's growing out of the river in the estuarine pool. So if you look at that habitat, it's very, very restricted. So any threat to that habitat could endanger the species in St. Vincent. The survey will continue with expert fisherman Shem Gibbs, and we, as I said before, we'll be trying to find the fat sleeper, and we'll be looking for more rivers that contain eels, because I believe the methodologies that we've been using so far have not been the best ones to catch them.
Thanking those who collaborated with him on the project, Renton used the opportunity to urge the Vincentian public to take care of the rivers.
Thank the SVG Environmental Fund for funding this project, and I also have to thank the Forestry Division. I've had wonderful cooperation from Mr. Fitzgerald Providence and Ian and his crew, and it's been fantastic to work with them. I think that many people would have been surprised that we found so many different species of fish and crustaceans in our river. Our rivers are very biodiverse and valuable habitats. These creatures have value in themselves as God's creations. They also have value in resources. Lobsters and macaque are important fisheries, and many people find recreation in catching crayfish. It's part of our heritage and culture. It goes back to the many generations. And I'm asking members of the public to take care of the rivers. Don't wash out your spray cans in the river. Don't use poison to catch fish and crayfish. And take a care as to how you use the river.
In other news now, we hear that the National Insurance Services, the NIS, is apologizing to its valued pensioners who experienced a 5-hour delay in their payment schedule last Friday, April 21st, 2023. In a news release, the NIS said the delay emerged from a technical challenge with its management system, which led to pensioners not being able to receive their pensions on the morning of April 21st, 2023. The release said the NIS team would work assiduously to resolve the issue, and pension payments were made available from 1 p.m. on April 21st. The NIS said to ensure its usual timeliness of payment, it has developed alternative procedures for the processing of benefits early. The following has been instituted. Payments for short-term benefits will be made available on Thursday, April 27, 2023, and payments for pensioners will be made available on Thursday, May 4th, 2023. Thanking its valued stakeholders for their patience and understanding during this time, the NIS says it regrets any inconvenience caused. In observance of World Intellectual Property Day, a conference and exhibition was held here today at the Kingston Methodist Church Hall. World Intellectual Property Day 2023 is observed under the theme Women and IP Accelerating Innovation and Creativity. Today's activity at the Methodist Church Hall, hosted by the Caribbean Intellectual Property Organization, was aimed at highlighting the importance of intellectual property. Speaking at the conference, Director of the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization, ECHO, Lance Trotman, said that this year women are being highlighted as there's recently been an increase in women in the creative arts worldwide.
You know, women do a lot. If you look at all the artists, a lot of them, in times past, there wasn't a lot of women because everybody says a male-dominated society and this is a patriarchal and all these things. However, women have been making notorious strides in innovation and creativity. If you look at, like I belong to Mr. Stapleton's small business arena chat site, and 98% and 99% of the people on that chat site are women trying to do some business. But that's on the business end. But on the creative end, you know, most of the people who are entertaining are women. So it's fitting that today we honor the ladies.
Speaking on the importance of intellectual property, Trotman said there is a problem in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with identifying people's intellectual property rights.
The other day I was at the Carnival Development Committee prize-giving ceremony, and I spoke to the Prime Minister because I'm always trying to point out to him that the intellectual property, the people who create stuff in St. Vincent and the Grenadines musically, because ECHO is a music organization, are not being given the respect that is due to a creative entity. So I said to him, comrade, I need your help with the licensing thing. Because, you know, if you're going to play music on the radio or, you know, FET in St. Lucia, if you have a FET, their concept of intellectual property is so much more advanced than ours that if a person is having a backyard barbecue in St. Lucia, they go to the ECHO office and ask for a license to use music. You just think about that. Here, we have to fight with the promoters to pay a license fee to use people's music. But they have a different concept. And you know, when I said that to Comrade, I said, Comrade, I need your help with the licensing, because the radio stations don't pay any license and they use people's music. I don't know how they manage to do that, because in other places, they will be sued, left, right, and center. But you know what he said to me? And I shall hold him to that. He said, the law is there, put them in court.
Keynote speaker at the conference was Justice Colin Williams, who shed some light on the need for more young creative minds, noting that people need to understand the economic benefits of intellectual property rights.
We need, therefore, to understand that how are we establishing a comprehensive IP ecosystem which must have adequate provisions for protection and enforcement. Because as artists, as creative persons, one is not just interested in registering, you're not registering your copyright or your rights for their own sake. In other words, you're not just registering because you can or because it is an administrative or legal technical requirement. It is because it has value, it has worth. And it has to be protected, therefore, from exploitation or abuse by others. In order to ensure that innovators and creators reap the rewards that they're entitled to, they must not only be the act of registering one's patent or copyright, but there must be adequate and sufficient safeguards to ensure that the originators, the creators' intellectual property is respected. Those policing the IP system and those, dare I say, adjudicating on complaints must be sufficiently trained and aware of their duties and their functions.
In other news now, we hear that the Fire Department of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force will be launching a program to bring awareness, further awareness to the public, including students, on the effects of fires, beginning with schools on the windward side of the island. This is according to Fire Chief Superintendent Joel James, who was on the Police Beat program on NBC Radio on Monday night, providing an overview of causes, effects, and control mechanism of fires.
We are going to initiate a program which would start from Fancy in the northeast all the way down to the leeward side. We have started to go into the schools, and we are going to continue as it relates to persons in the communities. We oftentimes will go into communities and speak to persons. There are some community groups in Bookment and other places, neighborhood watch groups. From time to time, we will visit these groups and we will educate the people in the communities as to the dangers of fires and what is really happening in other communities as it relates to fires which we would have responded to.
SOP James used the opportunity to appeal to the general public to adhere to the control mechanisms, highlighting to avoid fire fatality.
I am advising you, I am concentrating on bushfires. Do not light fires at these times. It is very dangerous to light fires, bushfires at this time. Do not set fires at this time. Do not leave your stove unattended, especially if you're using oil. Do not try to cook if you're tired, especially in the night, and go and lie down in your bed. Do not smoke in your beds. I know a lot of you are guilty of smoking in your beds, and you would fall asleep because of tiredness, and you're gonna create a fire. Do not overload your electrical equipment. For persons who have young children at home, please put the matches far away, high, in some high area that they cannot reach, because children like to experiment using matches from time to time. We had a situation just recently where children were experimenting with matches and burned a house down. Started in the bedroom with the matches. So I am appealing to parents to be more responsible and to be more alert as it relates to these activities.
The fire chief also advised persons who are reckless in lighting fire to desist from doing so, noting that they are putting other persons' life and livelihoods at risk.
Only tonight in this program, to persons who have been that reckless over the years and continue to be reckless, I am asking you to refrain from these activities. I want to let you know that when you are that reckless, you always put lives and properties at risk. You put in the lives of the environs at risk. You're also putting the lives of your brothers and sisters at risk. And when I say your brothers and sisters, I'm referring to us as firefighters, because fighting fires is a risk and it is very dangerous to our health as well.
The World Pediatric Project, the WPP, hosted on April 17th and 18th its first physical therapy mission for the year at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. The mission was led by physical therapist Lisa Beku, who was accompanied by occupational therapist Jessica Lynn. They also had support from local physiotherapist Janelle Balla, who works at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. According to a news release, the team saw a total of 28 children who have disabilities or genetic disorders that impair their ability to walk, affect their fine motor, and their overall ability to function daily. The youngest of the children that were assessed was a 3-month-old baby who was suffering with a condition that affects the spinal cord. During the mission, wheelchairs were also donated to 2 families by the physical therapy team to assist the children's ability to be more independent in moving around. The team continued the mission in St. Lucia for another 3 days from April 19 to April 21st, 2023. The WPP expressed gratitude to the Mario Holder Memorial Trust for sponsoring the mission. The next upcoming team that will be in St. Vincent is the Scoliosis mission led by Dr. James Bennett. This mission is scheduled for May 13 to the 20th, 2023. Individuals interested in supporting the work of the WPP are asked to contact the local office at telephone number 1784-451-2989.